Hello, everyone. Hi, guys. Just wait for a few people to join and then I'll get started. Hi, Mum. Hi, Holes. Okay, so we'll get started. So, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. And again, thank you for joining us. So, today we're going to be doing something a little different. So we're going to be speaking about teenage pregnancy, and I'm going to be speaking to you guys about my personal experience of being a teenage mum. And we're also trying out a different thing today where we're going to do like a question and answer thing. So we've had some questions come through already from a number of people, but as per usual, if you guys have any questions for me, please just pop them in the comments, or you can actually send a question directly to me. So just send that over and I'm more than happy to answer everyone's questions. So just bear with me. I'm actually feeling a little bit nervous, just because the spotlight is on me a little bit more than it is usually. Normally we have our lovely guests join us. But today it's about me and my experiences. So as per usual, I'll just start with our standard statistics. So the UK actually has the highest teenage birth and abortion rates in Western Europe. Young women living in socially disadvantaged areas are less likely to opt for an abortion if they get pregnant. In 2018, there were just over 51,000 teenage conceptions in England and Wales. And the final one is Barking and Dagenham has the highest teenage pregnancy rate in London, according to government statistics. Weirdly enough, I was actually living in Barking and Dagenham for quite a while I was at school and stuff like that. So for people that don't know me, anyone who's joined and they don't know my story, so I was actually 16 when I fell pregnant and turned 17 2 weeks after my son was born. So I completely fall into the category of a teenage mum. My son is now 9. I'm now 26, and he's healthy, he's happy, and he lives a very, very good life. But it's not all been roses and it's not all been easy and happy. So I'm just going to speak about it today. What I'm also going to speak about is just ways that we can support our young people. As per, it's not all about negativity. It's about being able to provide information to young people to ensure that if they are kind of making that decision to go down that road of having a child at a very young age, there are ways and things that young people need to be aware of, and that they also need to take into consideration as well before they make that very, very final decision. So what we'll start with is just going through the different questions that a few of our lovely followers have passed over to us. So the first question that I've had come through is, what advice would you give to young people that are currently pregnant? Um, I would say probably the most important thing would be to still think about what you're going to do with your life. Your life does not end as soon as you get pregnant. No matter what age you are, your life does not end. The world does not become completely around your child. It's also about you being a strong and a passionate person, or someone who is still very comfortable and confident in themselves, because that will brush off on your child. If you're not happy in your own personal space, and you're not happy with things that with the way that your life is going, it will ultimately affect you as a parent. um so I mean, that's a massive thing. Whether you're in school or you've just finished school, whatever it is, still think about continuing your education, still think about what you can continue on in your life, whether it's you going down a career path, whether it's you going down an educational path, whether it's you deciding that you want to be a stay-at-home mum, but you still have that kind of support financially from I don't know, whether it's the father of the child, your family, etc. It's just always making sure that you're still thinking about ways that you can still better yourself to be able to be a better mum. So the second question was, how has being a teenage mum impacted your relationship with your child? um I mean, this is peer to peer, so we're going to be completely honest. I'm going to be completely honest and speak to you guys about my highs and my lows. So my relationship with my son is 100 times better than it was a matter of years ago. I was in um a very kind of negative headspace where I developed a sort of resentment. I was like, I've decided, okay, yeah, I've decided to have a child at this age, but why can't my parents just take my child? Or why are they complaining that I want to go out with my friends? Or, and at the time, my son's dad wasn't being overly supportive. He wasn't helping me financially. He wasn't helping me with kind of relieving me of the stress of being a single parent at such a young age. So I did kind of fall back onto my family and feel like they had to look after my child if I needed to do something, or if I wanted to go somewhere. But and that impacted my relationship with my child, because I did develop a sense, like I said, I did develop a sense of resentment, that I was like, I can't be a normal 18-year-old, or I can't be a normal 19-year-old. All my friends around me are going out freely. They don't have kids, they've got money, like they can buy themselves all nice things, they can go out for dinner and drinks and go to the club and all of these kind of things. And I'm there and I'm thinking, right, I haven't got money because I've got to pay for this, that and the other. I've got to take my son to school in the morning, so I can't come out on a Thursday night. I've got to um still be there for my child. I can't just dump my child on someone else and be able to go out with my friends. So I think I struggled massively with the fact that I wasn't leading a normal 19, 20, 21 year old's life because I had a child. um that being said, I mean, I always kind of say it now, and my mum used to say it to me as well, is that me having a child at the age that I did, I would consider it a blessing in disguise, because I was on a road of self-destruction. I was on a road of just causing havoc, hanging around with the wrong people, and it was very, very likely that I was going to end up in jail, or I was going to, I don't know, end up being addicted to drugs, or just being out destroying my life and probably making worse decisions than having a child at 17. um so yeah, I mean, it impacted my relationship with my son for quite a while. And luckily, as I've matured, as the kind of stress and the difficulty of being a mother at such a young age has started to pass, and I feel a little bit more relieved. His dad is actively in his life and has him every other weekend. So that gives me a little bit of time to myself. I'm in a very happy and committed relationship, and he's amazing with my son as well, so that always makes it easier, because you do feel like you have that family environment. Whereas before, I'm sitting in my flat by myself, I'm not with his dad, it's literally just me and my son. I am fully responsible for this child, and it was extremely overwhelming and very, very stressful, and I don't think I handled it very well. um but yeah, so it's just all about kinds of progression. It's realizing and figuring out what you need to change, and how I needed to change my actions, and change things that were going on in my life in order for me to be a better parent to my child. Um, I've just had a question come through. So, did you always know you wanted to keep your baby? No. At first, I was definitely in two minds. My I just didn't really know what to do. I was very, very young. I was 16. I mean, I'd always kind of gravitated towards children. Sorry, I'd loved kids. Whenever there was babies in the family, I was like obsessed with them. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. And you have this idea in your head that you think it's going to be, you think you're going to feel that same excitement when it's your own baby, and you do initially, and then you realize, oh wow, okay, this baby is with me all the time, 24/7. I can't do anything without this baby because he's mine. And then eventually I kind of sat down. I made the decision that I was going to keep this child. It was also kind of a mixture of me being so in love with his dad, me thinking that I was going to be with his dad for the rest of my life, and wanting that kind of family environment and wanting that family, but not realizing that trying to have that family at the age of 16, 17 was not going to be the same as what I thought it was going to be. I've got another question just pop up. Oh, there's a few in there. All right, let me go through. What I'll do is I'll go through the ones that I've got on the laptop, and then any ones that I've got in there, I will answer them afterwards. So next question was, how old was you when you fell pregnant? As I mentioned before, I was 16 and then had my son when I was 17. The next question was you scared to tell your parents? I was absolutely petrified. I didn't even tell them myself. Both of my sisters told each parent. I can't remember who was who. I think so. My little sister told my dad, my older sister told my mum, and I was just sitting there dripping in sweat, crying, thinking, oh my God, my parents are going to kill me. What has happened? I don't even understand. But luckily, both of my parents were actually very understanding, very amazing. I mean, anyone who knew my mum, her passion was working with young people. She worked very closely with young girls, teenage pregnancies, young girls that were pregnant. She worked with them on a very, very kind of one-to-one basis, and that's where her passion was, as well as working with young people who were going through other things as well. But I was just very, very lucky to have both of my parents who at first initially were probably slightly disappointed. They weren't happy about it. What parents going to be happy about their child being pregnant at 16? But it's just the way that they kind of came up from it, and their relationship with my child after he was born, it was exactly how it was supposed to be. They both embraced him as their grandchild, and they loved him. They love him. I mean, my dad still absolutely adores him, calls him every day. So he has a very, very close relationship with my son. So yeah, like I just said, in that question, how did your family parents react when you told them? My mum kind of had the kind of vibe of like, I'm going to support you in whatever you decide to do. I'm here for you. My dad, at first, for anyone who doesn't know us, my dad is a Pakistani Muslim man. So for him to have a daughter who has not only got pregnant at 16, but has had a baby out of marriage, um, it was it was a big deal. He was not happy about it, but like I said, he came around to the idea. He eventually was very, very supportive, and that's all I could have asked from him, to be fair. How did your friends react? Now, at the time, you kind of deal with people who want to get back into your life, or come back around you to, first of all, find out information, find out, is she actually pregnant at 16, so that they can run back and talk your business. But also, I had friends that were just a bit like, well, we're still young, like we're not having this baby with you, so we're going to keep on going with our lives. The one friendship that I had, who is still my best friend, I don't know if she's tuned in, but Rosie, she has supported me from day one, from time I was pregnant. She was there all through my pregnancy, after he was born. She's my son's godmother. She's still there for him now. She literally, we used to say that we was both his mums. We was co-parenting. As much as that sounds weird, but she just supported me through everything. I'd go and stay at her house for a weekend and I'd have my son with us. Rosie's mum as well, big up Rosie's mum. I know that she's in there as well. I think she's joined. She was absolutely amazing. She'd look after Kai. If me and Rosie just wanted to go to the pub or just get out of the house for a couple of hours, she'd be like, leave the baby with me, I'll look after him. She would feed him, she'd change his nappies, she'd give him a bath. Like, both of them two were absolutely amazing, and they supported me through it. Everyone in my family, or everyone's bigging up Rosie in the comments, because they know that she's been absolutely amazing, and I've been best friends with her since we were 14, and she's still very much active in my life. And now she's had a baby and I'm trying to do the same things for her. When I go round there, I'm changing the baby's nappy, I'm feeding her, I've had her overnight a few times, because I just want to repay everything that she's done for me, because I genuinely don't think I would have been able to get through it without her, as well as my family as well. Of course, my sisters have been amazing, my cousins have been amazing, but Rosie is like, when it's your best friend, you're with them all the time, aren't you? So she saw a lot of it. So the next question is, how did having a baby impact your friendships? It was just a situation of my friends not understanding that I had a child. Like, they just, even some of my friends now don't understand that I have a child. They don't get it. They'll call you on a Wednesday and say, do you want to come out for a drink? Obviously before COVID, but they'd call me and say, do you want to come out for a drink? And it plants that seed in your head, like, oh, I wish I could go out. And that's where I think a lot of my resentment came from, was because a lot of my friends, it was difficult because I was stuck between two kind of things. So it was like, my friends would call me and say, do you want to come out? Do you want to come for a drink? We're just going to the pub around the corner. I'd say, sorry, I don't have anyone to watch my child. But then on the flip side, I know that if my friends didn't invite me, I would have been fuming and I would have felt it. I would have felt the burn either way. So I really, really, really had to get myself into a mind frame of like, you don't need to be out all the time. You don't need to feel any type of way. It's a Wednesday. You're getting up for work tomorrow. You don't need to go out and have a drink. Some people can go out, have a drink, and be able to get up and go to work the next day. I can't do it. But I just had to get myself into a mind frame to realize that my priorities lie with my child. They lie with my child and they lie with my family. And I still have my friends. I still go out with my friends. It's not a situation where I've just completely cut myself off from the world and said I'm just going to stay at home with my child all the time. Me and my other half, we go out before lockdown and stuff like that, but we was going out all the time. Whenever we didn't have the kids, like we'd go out and enjoy ourselves and be child free, which is also fine. I think it's really, really important for people to understand that you still have your life even though you have a child. And I know that some people don't have it as easy to, I don't know, have babysitters on tap, or to be co-parenting with the father of the child, and they might go, like with my son, he goes to his dad's every other weekend. So I know that every other weekend I have my time away from my child for me to be able to be me. Exactly, as Carly just said, you need child-free time for your own sanity. You really do, because they can be very, very demanding, and dealing with a child and the thought of bringing up a child and making sure that your child becomes a decent human being is so tiring and stressful in itself. And you're constantly under pressure, like, oh, what if he says the wrong thing, or what if he says something and someone thinks that I'm being a bad parent, or it's a constant thing. So you really, really need to have a little bit of time away, and just realize, exactly as Holly just said, you were Zen before you were a mum, and I still am Zen, but I'm Zen mum. So I'm Zen and I am a mum, and it's okay to merge them both together, and it's also okay to do them separately as well. There's nothing wrong with that. So the next question is, what has been your greatest challenge after becoming a teenage mum? God, I don't even think there's a greatest one. I think there's a number of challenges that I faced. I mean, one the main thing was from a financial standpoint. I got pregnant at 16. I moved out when I was 17 into my own flat with my son's dad. I had no idea about bills. I had no idea about rent or anything like that. And I got myself into debt. I'm going to be completely honest with everyone on here. I got myself into debt, and I just didn't know how to get myself out of it. And all you do, well, what I did do, sorry, is just bury my head in the sand, and I let it build up and build up and build up and build up. And it's, I mean, luckily, I've managed to sort my life out and get my life on track from a financial standpoint as well. And I'm in a much better financial position. But it was from the financial standpoint, like I mentioned earlier, it was not being able to go out with my friends or be involved in what other people my age were doing. It was also me feeling very, very much under pressure and feeling like a lot of people were judging me. I know that when I was walking around pregnant, and I looked 16 when I was pregnant. I looked 16 and pregnant. I was so young. And I had a proper baby face, and it's like, you think that people are constantly judging you. I remember people staring at my bump when I was on the bus and stuff like that, and it just makes you feel really, really uncomfortable. So it's a number of different things that I found really challenging, but I think the main thing to think about is the fact that everyone faces challenges in their life, and not everyone faces challenges that are around children. And it's just about getting past these challenges and trying to stay in a mindset of things will get better. It may take however many years, which it has done, however many years it takes, but it will get better, and I promise you that it will get better. So what led you to become pregnant, the circumstances? So I would say, so I was on the pill and was not taking the pill properly. I'll be completely honest with you. I was having unprotected sex. I was with my son's dad. We was in a full-on relationship. I was going to stay at his house all the time because he wasn't allowed to come and stay at mine. So I'd go and stay at his, and there wasn't a lot of authority going on. Like, his mum just let us be. And so, sorry to be a bit kind of like vulgar, but we was literally just in his room having sex all the time. That's all we was doing. And I was on the pill, was not taking the pill properly, and I ended up pregnant. That's just what's happened. What was your thought process when you found out you was pregnant? I locked myself in the bathroom for about 2 hours, and I hysterically cried. I just cried and cried and cried, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I didn't think that this was actually going to happen. What on earth is going on? And I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to tell my parents. I mean, my mum at least, because at that time I'm thinking, right, you need to get rid of this child. You can't have a child at 16. What are you doing? What is going through your head? You can't have a child at 16. And then I'm sitting there, I'm talking to and then I've come out the bathroom, I've told his dad was absolutely fuming. He broke up with me and said that he didn't want anything to do with me or the child. So that was like solid ground for me. I was like, no, I'm gonna break up with him. Not break up with him, but I'm not gonna be with him, and I'm gonna get rid of this baby, basically. And then he reached back out to me about a month later, maybe like 4 weeks later, and said to me that he wants to be there for me and the child. He wants to make things work. He wants us to be a family, all of that. And that was kind of like the tipping edge for me. I was like, okay, well, if we're going to do this together, then why not do it? We might as well just have a child. I'm planning on being with you for the rest of my life. I can't even describe to you. So, when you're in that young love of like, oh my God, my world is going to end without this person. I can't live without him. I need to be with this guy. And yeah, that just basically confirmed that I wanted to keep my child, and that's what I did, and that's how it's happened. Final question on my little spreadsheet that I've got here. So, what was your biggest fear becoming a young mum? Giving birth. I was at the time, it was one born every minute. I was watching it every single day. I was obsessed with it. And I'm sitting there and I'm hearing women screaming. I'm talking about people being rushed into theatre for an emergency C-section. I'm hearing about people losing blood. I'm hearing about the baby, it can't breathe. There's cords around their neck and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to actually push a baby out of me. A baby, like an actual baby, I'm going to have to push out of me. What is going on? What have I done? And then it's just like that obviously goes through your head. You think about that all the time. Holly's literally just said that I was absolutely obsessed with One Born every minute. I was watching it day in, day out. But then my mum had to sit me down and she said, listen, Zen, what you're watching on TV, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen that way. She was like, how you see it in films, that's not how it really happens. So she just kind of reassured me and said, listen, it's going to be painful. I'll be real with you. It's going to be painful, but you're in it now. What can you do? So yeah, let me just go on to, I've got quite a few questions in here, so I'm gonna get to answering some of these. So the first question is, what has been the greatest challenge? Oh no, I've answered that one. So Emma has asked, oh God, are you looking to have another child? So I'm in two minds. My son is about to be 10 in March, and the thought of me starting all over and doing that all over again, I'm quite scared of being pregnant and having a child and thinking that the circumstances will be the same. Because when I look at my relationship with my son's dad, in the nearly 10 years that I've still been connected to him, he's not made my life easy. I'll be completely honest with you. He even now he's doing better. I'm not going to knock him. He's doing better. He's in my son's life. My son knows who his dad is. Sorry, he goes to see his dad on a regular basis, and we do. I would say it's maybe like 30-70 how we split it. And from a financial standpoint, it is pretty much still on me and my partner to financially provide for my son. His dad does give me a bit of money here and there, but it's not enough. But like Emma just said, she said it will be a completely different experience, and my partner has said it will be a completely different experience as well. He very much wants a daughter. We both have a boy each. He very much wants a daughter, but I just feel like because I've had to do everything on the back of being a mum and on the back of having a child, I want to enjoy not having the responsibility of having a child for a little while, because I've had the responsibility of having a child since I was 17. So I've not experienced adult life without the complete responsibility of a child. I want to be able to get to a point when my son's in secondary school, he can take himself to school, get himself home. All I need to be doing is cooking his breakfast, lunch and dinner and washing his clothes. Even then, it's going to get to a point where he's going to have to cook his own breakfast and he's going to also have to wash his own clothes. But I want to be able to enjoy that side of it, where my son is just coming and talking to me about teenage things rather than me having to actually make sure that he is with an adult and with someone all the time. And do you know what I mean? I still have to sort out babysitters. If me and Jake want to go out for a date night or something like that, I still have to sort out babysitters and stuff like that. So it will be nice to just have a little bit of time, maybe a couple of years or so, where I don't have to do any of that. But then I also think the longer I leave it, the harder it's probably going to get. But we'll just see what happens. There's no pressure. There's no pressure on anything. My partner doesn't pressure me into anything. I mean, Kai says to me that he wants a sister, but he doesn't, no one pressures me into having a child, so I don't feel like I have to do it yet. It's just when I feel ready, and you never know, it might happen. We'll see. So another question is, did your child receive any backlash or anything from having a young mum? My son didn't receive any backlash. I mean, he actually himself said, he said to me not too long ago, he went to me, oh my God, you were what did he say to me? He was like, you were 16 when you had me. And I said, yeah. And he was like, oh my God, that's so young. And I was like, he's getting to an age where he's going to understand that I was really, really young when I had him, really young. But he doesn't feel any way. He still feels like he has a mum who's there for him. We live in our house. He has a roof over his head. We have a very, very normal life at home. There's not anything that makes him feel like, oh, because my mum was really young when she had me, that I'm missing out on anything, because I've always tried to do my best to provide for him in the best way that I can. But yeah, oh, sorry, Holly said that if you click on the picture on the question, it'll come up. Oh, okay. I'll do that now, Holly, thanks. Just to kind of carry on with Emma's question, not that it's any backlash, but just something that I've experienced as being a young mum. So when it comes to my son's school, I always kind of struggled with the other mums trying to build any relationships with the young mums. Not the young mums, the other mums, sorry. First of all, because they were all a lot older than I was, and they were all very much, they were housewives, they were married, like they had their children in a marriage, they were full on adults, they had their children later on in life. So none of them really wanted to speak to me or have conversations with me. I felt a little bit judged because I was the youngest mum there by far. There was a couple of mums that I used to speak to, but they, weirdly enough, they actually used to speak to my dad more than they did me, because my dad used to drop him off to school and pick him up when I used to go to work. And also that was another thing, was a lot of these mums didn't actually work. I was going to work full time, so I was either dropping him to breakfast club or I'd drop him to school and then go to work afterwards. So I was working full time as well as trying to look after my son. So I didn't have time to stand around and for half an hour having conversations or going round to the other mums' houses to have tea and talk about our kids. And if I'm honest with you, I don't want to sit there for half an hour, 45 minutes talking about my child. I've just dropped him off at school. This is my time now. I have a bit of freedom. I'm going to chill and I don't want to sit and talk about my child. If it's my day off and I've just dropped my son off to school, that's a whole 7 hours or whatever it is that I can just sit there and mind my own business without a child coming up to me and saying, Mummy, can you get me this? Can you get me this? Can you get me that? So it's my time. I don't need to speak to the other mums. So it was a kind of combination of both, of them not wanting to speak to me but me also not wanting to speak to them. I don't have time to be standing here talking to you so about what shoe size your son is now. I don't have time for that. So so I went off on a bit of a rant there, but so next question, did you find it hard being a young mum in terms of relationships, dating? Definitely. There's a lot of young men who were my age at that time who were like, as soon as you said you had a child, they were like, oh my God, no. It's either I'm just using this girl for sex or I don't want anything to do with her. But it was also a situation where I was quite reluctant to be in a relationship. I mean, I've only been in 3, including the relationship with my son's dad, I've only been in 3 serious relationships, and it's only my last 2 partners that met my son. There's some parents that introduce their child to every Tom, Dick and Harry who they're with, and I stood by that. I stuck to my guns and I was like, if I'm just seeing a guy or I'm just speaking to a guy, why do I need to introduce him to my son? Unless we're officially in a relationship and I know that you are okay and you're fine to be around my child, that only then will I bring you around him. So it did affect my ability to be able to get into relationships, but I also didn't want to get into loads of different relationships. All of my relationships have been long term. I was with my son's dad for 4 years, I was with my ex for nearly 2 years, and I've been with Jake just over a year now. But there's been massive gaps in between each of my relationships because that's just time for me. I don't need to jump from different relationship to feel some sort of, I don't know, to feel valid or to feel like I need to be in a relationship for me to be able to be a mum. That was never the case. So I was very, very content being single, and I was also very, very content being in a relationship. So it's just a mixture of both. I think that's a very, very important thing that people need to realize, is that you don't need to be with someone else in order for you to be a good parent, or you don't need the support from the other parent all the time for you to make sure that you're being a good parent. It's on you. So it's just there's just only so much that you can do as a single mum. And I'll be completely honest with you, as a single mum, there is only so much that you can do. Your child ultimately does need the other parent, but if they're not present, there's still ways to make it work as a single parent. So I think that's just important to definitely kind of keep in mind. um so Holly has asked, how have your relationships changed as you've grown into motherhood? I mean, they've been up and down. I'll be completely honest with you. As I've got older, my friends have, some of my friends have started to understand that I'm not able to just drop my child at any point and come out with you. Or a lot of my friends, a couple of my friends actually include my son in things. So they're like, oh, do you want to come round with Kai? I'll do him dinner and stuff like that. And I think as I've got older, that's just all I wanted. I wanted my friends to include my child with me. So if you're inviting me somewhere, I want you to say, oh, have you got Kai? Do you want to bring Kai with you? That's what I want. And I think when, if I have had any friends who don't do that, they're not my friends, they're my acquaintances, and they're people that I just go out with. They're not people that I'm bringing around my child. They're not people that I'm talking to about my child's achievements at school and things that he's been up to and what he's into himself at the minute. They're just not, they're my acquaintances. They're not friends. Um, so yeah, I mean, I have my very good friends, but I think I've also got extremely, especially in the last year, I've got extremely close to my sisters, extremely close to them. And I think where my older sister now has got two kids of her own, she understands. My younger sister is just, she's like my friend. She literally is like my friend. So I can talk to her about anything. She, as soon as Kai walks in, she's making him something to eat, or she's giving him crisps, or she's giving him sweets, or she's giving him something. So it's just, I've come to realize that I need to surround myself around people who understand that I'm a mum and that my child comes with me. Me and my child are a package. We are together. And so he comes with me wherever I go, or whatever I'm doing in my life, he comes with me. So yeah, I mean, if there's any other questions, then please feel free to pop them in. But I think I've pretty much answered everything. But just going from like a peer-to-peer standpoint, obviously we would go and speak to young people in schools, and I would always share my story, and everyone was like, oh my god, what, miss, you've got a kid, oh my god, you don't look old enough to have a kid. And everyone says the same thing to me. And I think it's just really important. I mean, I'm thick-skinned, I don't take offense to it. I don't feel any type of way if someone says to me, oh my god, you look too young to have a child. My response is always, I know I am too young to have a child, but I do. And I just think my kinds of tips of advice and what I would say to young people who may potentially be in the same situation, or who are actually having unprotected sex and you don't want to get pregnant, just sit down and think about how this can affect your life. It is not just you having a little accessory and having a baby for people to be like, oh, he's cute. No, no, no. When they're not in their cute stage, like my son is right now, he's 9 years old. His teeth are too big for his head. Right? People don't look at him and think that, oh, he's really cute. They're looking at how well mannered he is. They're looking at his behaviour. They're looking at how respectful he is. So it's not just about having a little baby on your arm. It's about bringing up an actual human being who's going to be an adult one day. So it's not something that should be taken lightly. But yeah, so I've got one more question from Hina. What happened in school when you became pregnant? So there was like, everyone couldn't believe it. And then there was two things. So one, I went to go and pick up my GCSE results, and everyone knew I was pregnant, and everyone was coming up to me and saying, oh my God, I can't believe that you're pregnant. Oh my God. All of that. And then I remember there was like, My partner's defending Kai, saying he's cute, actually. He is very cute. My son is handsome. He came from me, so he's extremely handsome. But yeah, then there was another time that I went into, it was like an award ceremony or something like that. I had to go and pick up an award that I had won, but this was after we had left and I was like 6 months pregnant. So I had a full on bump. I was like, oh my God, Mum, I can't go. She was like, listen, you're going to go, you're going to keep your head high and you're just going to go and accept your award and deal with what people say. Just go and do it. So I was like, all right, cool. So she gave me a little frilly cardigan thing. So she was like, if I give you something that's a bit frilly, it might disguise your bump a bit. So it's not, because I was humongous. My bump was massive. Like my baby was 8 pound 1. I was a size 6 before I got pregnant. So I was all bump and it was ginormous. But yeah, and I walked in and I remember everyone was staring at me. And then I went to go and pick up my award and everyone was just staring and whispering. I was like, oh my God, I'd come over all hot. I literally thought I was going to pass out because I was so anxious. I was sweating, like I was panicking so much. And then luckily afterwards, all the people that I was friends with, like they came up to me, they was like rubbing my belly saying, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe you're having a baby. And then my head of year came up to me and she sat down. She was like, so I hear you're expecting. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, I support you. Like, she was like, well, I'm happy for you as long as you're happy and blah, blah. But you know, when it's the teacher and you're like, oh, God. Like, she's probably just sitting there thinking, like, oh, we expected this to happen. You was like the little shit in school. That, do you know what I mean? You had a boyfriend. Everyone knew you had a boyfriend and whatever. But it is what it is. But yeah, so it was a massive shock for everyone. It was a massive shock for everyone. But you just get through it. Yes, Tia, I know my bump was not going to be disguised. Okay, everyone knows that I was ginormous. Okay. God, you don't tell the world. But yeah, so what's this question? Sorry, we've got another question. Oh God, Holly. What advice would you give to parents, relatives whose children are becoming young parents? The main thing is just support them. You just need to support them. You need to be there for them. You need to realize that your children, especially if they're as young as I was, they have no idea what they're doing. They don't have any idea. So you need to support them every step of the way, and not even just with them looking after the child. If someone tells me that like you've just got to feed a child and change their nappy, that's the basics, that's just standard. But from a financial standpoint, if they are moving out of your house, or that, like, even if they are staying in your house, they need to make sure that their finances are patterned and that they're in a good place financially, not even making a load of money, but just making sure that you can provide for yourself as well as your children or your child. Also, be there to support them emotionally. It's such a difficult time. And it's only going to get progressively harder. I won't lie. As my child grew and got older and started talking and doing all of these things, it became harder to me. I mean, it's easier now because my son just does his own thing. He's into his own thing. I can communicate with him. We can sit down and have conversations, all of that. But prior to that, it was like, it's just me and him. It's just me and him. I wasn't living at home. Me and my son's dad broke up just before his first birthday. So he moved out. It was just me and him. I was in this big old flat by myself. It was a 2-bedroom masonette by myself. I hated the flat. I was in an area that I was petrified. I'll be completely honest, but I used to sleep with something underneath my bed because I was petrified that someone was going to break into my house. And don't get me wrong, my family were extremely supportive. They were so supportive, but at the same time, they was like, well, that's your child. You're about to be an adult. You've got to figure this out on your own as well. And I think one thing that I would change was that I would want someone to just baby me through it. Literally, I want to be the baby too. Baby me through it and show me exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and teach me how to deal with the way that I'm feeling. So I was also, I mean, I briefly touched on it when we did our first live when we was talking about mental health, but from time I was pregnant, I've also been dealing with my mental health issues as well. I've been dealing with depression, I've been dealing with anxiety, and dealing with both of those kind of things, as well as having to be a single mum at such a young age, is a recipe for disaster. It's an absolute recipe for disaster, and I did really struggle. But on a positive note, I've got through it. I've got through it. I'm doing so much better with my life. I've recently just started up my own nail business, which is doing very, very well. And my son is like, "Oh my God, you're gonna be a millionaire." And I'm like, "Yes, damn straight I am. I'm gonna do this." And it's just about going. Sometimes you do have to go through the rough before you can get out to the into the easier kind of sides of life. And it's just about continuing on. And what I wish I could say this to myself nearly 10 years ago is that you will be okay. Things will be okay. And you'll be able to just get through life. You're gonna go through difficult times. It will be difficult. There were times that I was like, I'm gonna be so real with you, sir. I'm gonna be so real. There was times that I wanted to say to my mum, "Take my child, please. Take my child. I don't want to do this. I can't do it. I'm by myself. I'm 18 years of age. I've got a 2-year-old already. I don't know what to do. I'm struggling. I'm crying out for help." And you just have to snap back and realize that you can do this. You can do this. You're doing it. Your son is alive. Your son is healthy. Your son is well looked after. You are doing fine. It's okay. Hina's asked me, how was your mental health affected? I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. There was a stage in my life that I was severely depressed, and my mum was actually looking after my son. I think it was probably for like 4 weeks or something like that. She had him at her house, and I had to just hit rock bottom before I realized I needed to sort my life out. I needed to sort my life out. I had to. And it got to a point where I reached out to my mum and I said, "Listen, I'm so sorry." Like, because I just went on a mad one. I was hanging around with the wrong people. I just went on a mad one. Just didn't give a shit about anything, excuse my language, but did not care about anything. I was like, I just want to be out. I don't want to think about anything. I just want to do what I'm doing and keep it moving. I don't even want to think about being a parent. I've been doing this for too long. I'm not getting any help from his dad. Why does it have to just, I was so angry and so resentful and so, I just hated the world at that point. I hated the world. And I was so depressed. I was like, it's so weird because I was like, the normal way of looking at people who are depressed is that they isolate themselves from everyone. They sit in their house all day and they don't want to talk to anyone. They're crying all the time. And I was doing all of that stuff, but I literally genuinely thought that the only way that I was going to get out of that mindset was to be out drinking and doing whatever the hell I was doing. And I was isolating myself from my family. I even sat there and contemplated and thought about running away, just running away and disappearing off the face of the earth and not talking to anyone and never meeting anyone again, moving to a different country and just starting a new life, getting a new identity. Like, literally all of that kind of stuff was running through my mind. And I just hit rock bottom. There was one day I woke up. I literally used to cry myself to sleep every night, and I used to wake up in the morning and I'll be so real again. I was suicidal. I was like, I don't want to be here. I really, really don't want to be here. And I was really, really struggling at that time. Um, and then I reached out to my mum and I said to her, I need your help. Mum, I need your help. I need your help. And that day, she took me she basically sorted out a doctor's appointment and we went to the doctor's appointment together. And that day, she basically said, right, you need to go and speak to the doctor. And that was the first time that I was on antidepressants. They prescribed me antidepressants. And then it's difficult to talk about because it just all happened so quickly. And then my mum got ill very, very quickly. So the person who was pushing me to sort my life out and was trying to Sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. God. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, so not long after I went for my first appointment, mum was actually diagnosed and she got very, very ill. So it was like I kind of missed out, and it was taken away from me for that person who was so ready to help me, because I'd reached out to her and said, I really, really need your help, mum. She was taken away from us. So it was just taken away from me to be able to have that person who was trying to support me. God, sorry, guys. Oh. So yeah, but on a bit more of a positive side, as much as mum isn't here with us anymore, I think she's always with us. She's always with me, and it can be very, very frustrating sometimes to having sorted out my life and I'm in such a better place. And it's just a shame that she doesn't get to see it, and that she isn't with us anymore to be able to see that I've actually sorted out my life, and that I'm doing the best that I can for my son, and I have really sorted out my life massively. So yeah, sorry guys, I just had a little bit of a breakdown there. But yeah, no, on a much more positive side, it's just you can get through it for young people who might be going through the same thing. And some young people are actually doing it without their parents as well. Like they're doing it from the jump without their parents. So I think it's so important for all of us to just support as many young people as we can, all the time, whether it's young people who are pregnant, whether it's young people who are affiliated with gangs, who are into the wrong things, whatever it is. I just think it's really, really important for us to be able to support our young people as best as we can. I've got another question. So what was it like to deal with extended family members from your dad's side, different cultures? I don't actually talk to a lot of my dad's side of the family. There's probably a couple of my cousins that I still stay in contact with. But a lot of them, my dad's side of the family, especially coming from a very Pakistani background, a few of my dad's siblings were actually born in Pakistan, so they do have that mindset of like, it's not even necessarily about the age, it's more about having a child and not being married, I think, for them. So they weren't very supportive, they were quite judgmental. So I just said I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. So yeah, I just distanced myself from them. So yeah, I think I've got, oh, why's Dave trying to request to join the live? Let's see, I think someone's trying to join the live. One sec, guys.
Whoa.
So Chantel just said, I'm not too sure why it's not connecting, but Chantel just said support is an essential aspect of motherhood. 100%. Without support, a lot are put in a position that threatens their mental health. Now, I know everyone knows about the quote that it takes a village to raise a child, and I agree with that 1000%. 1000%. And I think I genuinely don't think I would have been able to do it without my family. I don't think I would have been able to do it without my best friend Rosie. I know we've already bigged her up, but I don't think I would have been able to do it without her. And also, as much as like my current partner now has only come into Kai's life within the last year, or just over a year, he has been so amazing with him, and Kai loves him. Kai is so close with him, and they share a bond. My partner's son and my son, they call each other brothers now, and they share the same room. They're like, oh, Kai constantly asks, he knows when Josh is coming, when Josh is coming to our he comes to stay every other weekend. So he's like, is Joshy coming this weekend? Is Joshy coming this weekend? And it's just shown me such a completely different side to being a mum. And it's shown me the side of being a mum that I think I was always longing for and always wanted to feel. And it's taken me a while to get to that point, but it doesn't mean everything takes time. That nothing is perfect as soon as something happens. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Sometimes it can happen a little bit later on. But I'm going to get cut off in a couple of minutes, guys, so I'm going to have to speed this up a little bit. But just to kind of conclude what we've been speaking about, there are so many different organisations that can obviously support young people in so many different aspects, but when it comes to teenage pregnancy, as we normally do, we post the helplines afterwards, and obviously anyone can request to basically speak to any of us. You can send us a DM, an email, anything like that, and we can do our best to either put you in the right direction or attempt to try and give you a little bit of advice ourselves. If anyone actually wants to speak to me personally, if anyone has a family member or someone who may have had a child themselves when they were really young and they'd like to speak to me about it, so we can just speak about both of our experiences, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anyone. And I'm there if someone feels like they're going through a tough time and they're struggling with parenthood. I'm all ears. I'm here. You guys can find my personal Instagram as well if anyone wants to message me on there. As per usual, guys, we do actually have our workbooks. If anyone wants to request them, you can send us over an email, or you can also send us a DM and we can get those emailed over to you. Any organizations that want to try it out, they're free of charge, so we can just get them sent over to you. And next week we are actually going to be covering a discussion about sexual health. So if anyone wants to join in on the live, if they've got anything they want to say, I'm more than happy to have any guests on. So yeah, please send us a message if you want to get involved. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my story. This was a big deal. I've never spoke to the world about my story like this before. So thank you to everyone who's sent your comments and your messages, and I really, really appreciate it. And we will see you next week, Thursday. Mwah. Bye, guys. Take care.
That was really good. Why did you start crying?
Because I started talking about